Hey gang, so you have your plate carrier, you got it all rigged up with a bunch of accessories and attachments, but let's talk about how to really set this thing up so that it works for you and is not just a piece of LARPing gear. Now, if you don't know what LARPing is, go Google that. That's a thing, okay? But as we're talking about plate carriers here, first, let's talk about how they're set up and how they're rigged. So, plate carriers, yeah, they look cool and all, but they serve a functional purpose. First and foremost, they are for protection, okay? To protect you from getting hit with certain rounds and things like that. The second thing is it's a place where you can carry gear and accessories like extra mags, radio pouches, things like that. Now, a lot of people, they buy plate carriers, and not all plate carriers are equal, by the way, but they buy plate carriers and they just throw stuff on there, they throw the plates on there, and whatever, with really no care of where things are placed and how they may work for you. When I get a plate carrier, and I've done a lot of variations of this, but when I get a plate carrier, I like to make sure that I fit this for me and what I'm going to be doing. Now, I don't have like 10 different plate carriers. I actually have just one generic setup because, well, that's the setup that I've been doing since, I don't know, 2004, 2005, I don't know. But it's just what works for me. And then I just use that for various things. But I don't even put the plates on first. When I get this plate carrier, the plates don't even go in. What I do is I generally throw the plate carrier on and make sure everything is fit as far as where the plate carrier sits. Now, the plate carrier protection area, which is right here, you see the edges of the plates here, okay? The top of this should be just below the level of the clavicle. A lot of times we see that too low or too high, where it's kind of like high up in the neck, but mainly too low. If it's too low, you're actually not protecting all of your vitals, like many parts of your lungs and things like that. The other thing is you want to make sure whatever level this is on the front, you want to make sure it's balanced to the level that is on the back. Again, all too often we see the front level of the plate carrier sit lower than the level on the top. And actually you have the top portion over here preventing your neck from articulating really the way it should. That could pose a problem if you ever go in, say, the prone position. Now, the thing about it is you set it up to where everything is comfortable, symmetrical, and all that stuff with no plates, no gear on. Once you have that generally where it is, then what I like to do is I like to actually rig my gear first, because with no plates in here, I can weave through the molly gear. I can weave through all this stuff very easily because it's all soft and whatever, and I can get everything attached in here. Once I have all my gear set up, and a major component of doing that is your radio gear, all these wires. These wires are actually pretty long, but I've weaved them in a way where you can't see excess wire. I've got an antenna that you cannot see readily, which is in the back here. It's all weaved through. That way it's out of the way. You don't want to look like basically having a gear bomb when you're actually using these things. So everything is tucked, everything is properly placed, and all that stuff. Once that's done, and again, I would do one extra fit to make sure everything's symmetrical and all that stuff, then I put the plates in. Once I put the plates in, then I make sure everything feels right, the levels are right, and everything is fitted for me. I also check the functions. Can I hit the quick releases on the top and the bottom? Can I use the functionality? Can I actually access my mags and things like that? Check to see if everything functions right. Now, I want to dispel a myth that is probably, it's just a thing out in the marketplace, is that the plate carrier itself offers some level of ballistic protection, like say shrapnel and things like that, and that is not true. It will not stop a knife stabbing you by itself. It will not stop shrapnel from, say, explosive devices and whatnot. Will not do any of that stuff. So assume for a second that your plate carrier offers zero ballistic protection. Now, there are plate carriers that come from the manufacturer that have soft protection, typically level 3 or some variation thereof, soft protection. Generally they don't, but there are some, and that's where you kind of get that confusion. But if your plate carrier, if you're just having a plate carrier, you just have one, it generally doesn't come with any level of ballistic protection. So before you buy it, understand what you're buying. And then many cases, they offer some mild ballistic protection through soft armor, but with the intention of putting a hard plate of some kind to stack on top. So those are all considerations. Not all plate carriers are created equal, and they must be tailor fit to you. This rig for me probably took me a couple hours to set up from soup to nuts. So grab a bottle of whiskey, grab a shot glass, pop in a movie, right? Go to your man cave or your women cave or whatever it is, and give yourself some time to rig this right.